Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am working in my journal index card, or my index card journal. Yeah, that's what I should call it, index card journal. It's a box that's just full of cards of different sizes, and I just sort of reach inside and I grab a card and I start putting together pieces. So let's see, let's go ahead and grab a card from inside of here. I'm just going to take this white rectangle, it's almost a square actually, and I'm going to take this plain white piece and work around this quote and this little envelope that I designed in Cricut Design Space using Harvest Wreath from Jan's Digi Stamps. Isn't that pretty? It's pre-colored, so all I had to do was just import it into Cricut and I put it on this burlap style envelope. So let's get down to work and get this little envelope made and then design our page. Alright, so I'm going to start by making this envelope. I'm going to start by putting in the score lines, and I'm speeding this up because it doesn't take much explanation here to show you how to put score lines in. I like to put them in on the wrong side, and that way it makes folding over easier. Once I have this all scored and folded into place, then I'm going to move on to inking. And I'm just going to go ahead and ink the edges as well as the edges of the front of the envelope. Now you'll notice later that when I adhere this envelope in, I'm actually not going to adhere it. I'm going to tie it into the page. That way I can take it out at any time and I can add something else if I want to, or I can take something out or whatever I want to do. You'll see later. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the envelope on the two sides, fold it on the third side, then my fourth side is going to stay open and it's going to fit in just like so. All right, so there's my little sentiment, and again, that's also from Jan's Digi Stamp. And I'm going to go ahead and put some little lines on it. And I'm just using an old retired stamp from Close to My Heart. And I'm stamping it onto a blank piece of cardstock that is the same size as the other piece, because I messed up the other piece when I stamped it. So I'm going to show you how to fix it. All right, so I'm trimming this up a little bit to match the size, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to the real card that I messed up when I stamped it. So went over to my paper slicer, and first I'm going to glue it in actually. There we go. Now I'm going to take it to my paper slicer and I'm going to slice off those edges. Then I'm going to round the corners, and I'm going to take a little piece of very thin ribbon and put it right over that line. Then I had a little bit of trouble with my ribbon getting a little wonky, so I thought, oh great, now what am I going to do? Well, I just brought a little sequin in. And what's prettier on a full project than a little gold sequin? So it worked out perfectly, and it fits right into the envelope. Now let's start this piece of plain white cardstock. Nothing more intimidating, right? So I started by just inking it with a light brown or cashmere color, then went over the edges with green, then came in with flaxen and started sort of rolling this print onto it. Now this print is very fun. It has little flowers and acorns and leaves, very, very full. And I like the way this flaxen color is showing up on this. It's not really yellow, but it's not really gold either on top of this green, so it's working out quite nicely. It's sort of a a dark yellow. I'm pulling another retired stamp set from close to my heart. I'm coming in with some chocolate ink, and I'm going to go ahead and add these leaves. I'm doing second impression stamping here. So I go ahead and stamp it onto the ink pad, and then I stamp it on. But then I noticed that it really wasn't as dark as I liked, so I went ahead and just used first impression stamping there on those leaves. All right, I'm bringing in some poppy. Now this poppy is pretty strong, as you can see. So I will definitely be using second generation stamping here. All right, so I stamp it off and then stamp onto the sides. And I just used half of my butterfly on each side. Again, this is from the same stamp set as the butterfly, I believe. And I'm just putting in, it's very faint, just thanks, because the theme is thankful. Now, this is something different. What I do is I take my block and I just rub the very edge of it in ink. And then I rub it across just to give it some really sharp lines. And then you can just clean it off with a paper towel, and it cleans off quite easily. I'm bringing the poppy back in because I think the poppy is really nice to bring out the reds in this wreath. Again, it's a pre-colored, so I could just take that pre-colored digi and match up some pretty colors that I thought would highlight it. Coming in, and I'm just doing some of these kind of poppy orange red colored hearts along here. I decided I wanted a few more, so I'm lining it back up, my stencil. This is a homemade stencil, by the way, that I cut in Cricut Design Space for a project a long time ago. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut some little background papers here for my sentiment, and I'm just cutting them with a ruler there. As you can see, I'm just tearing them. Gives it a kind of a rustic country sort of look. I like that. And now I'm going to come in with this cashmere ink, again from close to my heart. And I'm going to go ahead and ink up the sides. And I go ahead and just drop it in there and just kind of smoosh some of that ink right on there just to sort of give it a little texture. Now I found this on my desk. You know, I'm not a great cleaner, to be perfectly honest. And sometimes I just have little bits and pieces left over from other projects just sitting there, and it's like, oh yeah, this will be perfect. So I pick it up, and yes, this really was perfect. So exact colors I wanted, and I thought, you know what, this can just kind of hang there and add some texture. And so I just added it with a little bit of Fabri Tac underneath the Sentiments. I'm rubbing my verbiage pages here. I'm just rubbing those little tags along that green ink just to sort of set them off. Now I'm taking my pokey tool and I am poking holes into the page, and now I'm using the ball part of it and I'm poking the embroidery floss on through the page. So you'll have an opportunity to see that again. I pick it up here and I just lay the embroidery floss over it, and then I take the ball part and just push it down into that hole, and then I can pull it straight through. It's very easy then. Now this is what I was going to tell you at the beginning, or what I started to tell you at the beginning of the video, how I wanted to not permanently attach the envelope. I wanted to be able to remove it from the page. So I'm just tying it in is what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tie a little bow here, and it's going to hold this envelope onto the page and keep it there securely. However, I can untie that at any time and put more in there, or I can take things out. I can do whatever I like. I'm going to trim those strings a little bit and put a few things away. Clean up my environment a little bit so I don't get distracted, and then we will move on. I found these kind of berry red sequins, or gems actually, And I'm just going to stick a few of them in. Now you might be thinking, oh, she's putting in gems. It's the end of the project, because that's kind of what I do. But I'm adding more gems, and I've got a few more things to add. So we're not at the end yet. I am using my Copic markers to color these gems from close to my heart in different shades of orange and peach, and I'm just laying them around. And now I'm going to write some things that I am thankful for. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and date this since it's going into my index journal. And I am done. So now it's going to go back in my little index box here, index card box. And I have completed that page, the first page in my little card journal. So thank you so much for joining me. I am so pleased that you stopped by for a visit. I will leave you all the information you need below. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them for me. Have a great week. Bye.